Action. Welcome to the Ask Faleskini podcast with a guest. I'm proud to present Kasia Pyevach. Kasia is a life coach and host of the Art of the Living podcast. Kasia, welcome to the show. Please tell us more about yourself. What is your story?
Hi, Peter. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to have this chat with you. So my story goes back, I would say my story really began back in 2019. I was a relatively new mother. My daughter was 2 years old, and I was suffering from depression, eating disorders, anxiety. I was really not in a good place spiritually. And I decided to visit my parents who lived down in Central America in Belize for about 2 weeks. And it was one of the best decisions I had made because this 2 weeks gave me some time away from my everyday life. My mom was looking after my daughter at that time because as a new grandma, she was so excited to spend time with her. And it gave me the time and space, along with reading a little bit of self-help, that gifted me this beautiful spiritual awakening. And within a moment, I broke open. I had this moment of breaking open, and I understood life on such a different level. It was as if my ego completely shattered, and I was completely present in the moment and completely present in love. And unfortunately, this beautiful state of being did not stay with me. It stayed with me for about a week or two, and I had the most beautiful life experience in those 2 weeks. And that really started my spiritual journey. I mean, I came back to my home country of Canada. This beautiful spiritual experience kind of left me, and I began deep inner work, and I began to understand spirituality, and I began to just really try to understand my experience and integrate it.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I have so many questions. I'm eager to ask you about your path. So, right now you're a life coach, and you're sharing your experience. Who would be your perfect client, or who you work with the most?
My perfect client is someone who is feeling disconnected from the present moment, from their heart, and from the spiritual world. So they're going through their day, day by day. Maybe they're experiencing success in the material world, but there's something missing. And I help them reconnect to this inner power and this inner love that is inside of all of us that connects us to everything.
What do you think is the main reason that we are so disconnected from ourselves, and we're living in a past, or we're living in the future and not in the present moment? What is the main reason? Because it's an epidemic in the whole Western world. So what would you say is the main reason for this?
I would say it is too much connection, too much emphasis on our mind and not enough on our heart. I would say the mind is a generator of fear, and it is always looking out for threats. So it is looking in the past, in the future, scanning for threats in the future, and keeping us away from the present moment. And the mind is very connected to the ego, which is about ourselves, about, again, protecting ourselves, protecting our identity that we've created. And all of this is really an illusion of the mind. And the only truth comes when we can connect to our heart.
Okay, I would like to dig a bit deeper and ask you, when you say that we are so much in our mind and not enough in our heart, who is to blame? Is that our family? Is that our school system? Is that our society and all the info that we get all the time and all our heroes? Who is to blame that we are completely stuck in our mind and ego-driven, if I may say so?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it's a combination of everything you just mentioned. It's the collective consciousness, it's the society, it's just where we are at in the collective consciousness and in the evolution of humanity would be my answer. So definitely, I mean, everything is a reflection of where our consciousness is at. So the school system, society, the way, our parents and our teachers were also formed through this culture. So they also pass these things down to us. So I'd say it's a little bit of everything.
Okay. Is this phenomena of being disconnected from our heart and working just with our mind, is this deliberate, as they say in many conspiracy theories, or is this just something that occurred because of all this progress that we are experiencing as a civilization and as a society, and because 100 years ago that there were many less things that we could do, so fewer professions and much more tradition. And right now everyone is starting from scratch. There's almost no tradition left, and there are so many new professions being born every 5 years that's amazing. Would you say that this is deliberate, that someone develops socialization, society in that way, or is that just a consequence of a huge technological progress that we are experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, my answer is definitely just my opinion. And it, I would say it's not deliberate.
Mhm.
The way I see it is a natural progression of human consciousness. And that just as as a child goes through life and reaches into adulthood, they go through so many different stages of evolution, right? When they turn 5 or 6 years old, they start developing their ego. And then, 15, 16, they start becoming more independent from their parents. I feel that us as a collective, our consciousness goes through those stages as well. And that sometimes our consciousness is more in developing the mind, and then we might, overshoot that and overdevelop that and realize, oh, we've gone too far. And now we need to kind of swing the pendulum back to the middle and bring more of our body and heart into this. And it's this learning that we are all in together
Who
is
would
the
you
way I
say,
see.
who would you say that has to lead this, let's say, new way and into higher consciousness?
I think there are just certain people who are curious about these things. You know, not everyone is here to delve deep into spiritual work. We all have different roles and gifts. And I think that there are certain souls that come here and are here on their life mission is to understand these concepts and to delve deep within themselves and then to bring them to society. As you know, there's been so many wonderful teachers in our past, wise ones who have led the collective consciousness. And I think these are the people who are going to be leading in the future.
Okay, if I understand correctly, you're talking about the teachers, I would call them gurus of different kinds, and you're not talking about the politicians and the legislators and all this. Do you believe that these two should somehow come together, and that more enlightened people, if I may call them so, should become politicians and should go be legislators? How do you see the future? How will this develop? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be wonderful if more of these gurus were partnering with or, you know, leading our societies. And I do believe that we are moving into a era where this is going to happen. I feel that, you know, they say that the veil is lifting and that these ways, these old ways that politicians used to manipulate society, we are as a whole becoming more aware and more conscious, and that people are naturally looking for leaders who are more embodied and more embodied in truth. And I think we all are seeing that, whether we're conscious of it or not. So I see a really bright future, and I see that things are really shifting in a really positive way.
Okay, I have another question. It's more a provocation type of question. When we are depressed, when we are anxious, and we have many problems with our bodies, we are basically in survival mode. It's fight or flight or freeze mode, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, we are not open to listen to the gurus. And a lot of people, I would say a majority of people right now is experiencing some kind of, or let's say one of these three, either fight or flight or freeze mode. How can we expect the majority to follow gurus if they're basically completely depressed or anxious?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the messages of the gurus are so uplifting. I think if you have depression and anxiety, I think that surrounding yourself with these messages can really lift you to a higher place. But on a more practical note, if someone is so depressed and so anxious and in such a low frequency and they're having a hard time connecting to these more high frequency messages, I would say the first step is really delving into our trauma, you know, working with a therapist and healing those deep wounds that are keeping you in fight or flight so that you can be more open and receptive to the messages of the gurus and the higher truths.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is that why you're recording your podcast, Art of Living?
Is that why I'm recording it?
Yes, because you want people that are not in the best place right now to get this light of hope and just get some encouraging information and encouraging messages to them so that they can start dealing with their traumas, as you call it.
Absolutely, 100%. And it's just a place for me to also share my experiences and my wisdom and hope that it will resonate with someone out there and help them along in their journey.
How important is to to share experiences, especially for you, because you were not in the best place and now you're thriving. How important is to share experiences? Is that the only way that people can identify with possible outcomes? Why is sharing experiences so popular and so useful in our spiritual journey?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's the only way. I think everybody learns differently, but sharing experiences is a very helpful way in learning. I think we can, it's always been that way, storytelling and the way we learn through resonating with other people's paths and resonating with their experiences and just learning from someone else's story can be so helpful.
Thank you. I know that you just launched Freedom to Eat program. I would like to know more about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What can you share with our listeners?
Yeah, so Freedom to Eat program is a new baby of mine. And it is designed to help women who struggle with disordered eating or emotional eating. This is something that I had struggled with for over 10 years of my life, and it took up so much mental space. It took up so much of my life. And when I finally freed myself of this food compulsion and food addiction and healed my wounds around it, the amount of presence and satisfaction and fulfillment that I began to feel in my life, and how much more space I began to have to work on, creative projects or spend time with my children, just opened up for me, that it inspired me to want to help other women who are going through this. I don't want women to take 10 years to overcome this. I want them to overcome it in 3 months, because with the right help and with the right tools, you really can. So that is my hope for this program, to help women heal their relationship with food and with their bodies so that they can really just have more freedom in their life to pursue and live the life that they want.
Amazing. Before we finish, I would like you to ask another thing. Can you share a secret or a trick to our audience how they should start their journey of self-discovery, and where should they start? How should they think about depression and anxieties and similar when they're at the rock bottom? What is the one trick or tip that you can give us that will work for everyone?
The number one tip I would say is to remember that what is making you feel depressed and anxious is your thoughts, and that your thoughts are simply not aligned with truth. That you are thinking thoughts that are not aligned with love and with the highest truth. And knowing that it's as simple as changing those thoughts, creating thoughts that are more in alignment with love and truth. This, I would say, is the fastest path to getting out of depression and anxiety. and that you can get out faster than you think you can.
That's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kasia, please let us know where can our followers reach you.
Absolutely. So I am mostly on Instagram at Kasia Pyevach, and you can find out more about my Freedom to Eat program at my website, kasiapyevach.com. And you can also check out my podcast. It's The Art of Living with Kasia Pyevach, and that's on Apple Podcasts.
Thank you very much. I will include all the links in the description below. Thank you for being my guest tonight.
Thank you so much, Peter. It was such a great time being here. Thank you.